Thor Ackerlin, and welcome to Video Game Bullshit.
This is Master Daniel Facina. Get over here to Video Game Bullshit.
Welcome to Video Game Bullshit. So, doing another interview finally. The last one we did was I want to say it was about over a year ago that I had DJ Slope, Daniel Iverson from Slope's Game Room, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do more interviews. I'm gonna do a lot more interviews, and then a year goes by, I move, all this craziness, and finally get to have on an old friend over here, and we'll let you introduce yourself. But I think it's been 5 years since we've talked, which is freaking insane.
Yeah.
And
wow.
So I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself. I got a bunch of crazy ass questions that may not even be applicable depending on where you are in your YouTube career and, musician career and everything. So, but we'll see. We'll go ahead and start.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. My name's Xander Skullion. I do a YouTube channel at Xander Skullion and cover. I cover modern and retro video games. I think my bread and butter right now on the channel is my Play and Tell series, which is a fancy way of saying this is a series where I talk about games I've been playing. And I want to say that out of all the spectrums of different content creating topics, games that people have been playing have always been the one thing I like to watch the most, because I feel like it's the most genuine and it's the most interesting thing to see when you're watching a content creator on what games they're playing and their opinions on it. It's always been my favorite topic. So I've been really trying to do a little bit more of that on the channel, and of course trying to make it good production. And I do podcasting as well. It's been a while, but I do XSGaming podcast with James Gruesome. Our times don't always match up, so we haven't done. Last time we did an episode was last Halloween. We'll probably do another Halloween episode this year. And I
thought Tristan and I were bad. It's been 2 months since we could sync up, and
oh man, yeah, it's been a while for us. And and I play music too. I have a couple of songs on Spotify, where I did some pop music. I was I want to do some pop music, so that's what I did, 80s pop. So I did some of that, but I also do all sorts of metal and rock, and I do all sorts of genres. But yeah, it's Xander Skullion on Spotify and Apple Music and all that stuff. So just type in Xander Skullion, and you'll find most of the stuff that I'm doing at the moment.
the Xander.
Yep.
Dude, it's freaking crazy. And I know back before we had linked up too, and you actually contributed to some of my older books. Was it the Super Nintendo book?
It was the Nintendo,
and then the Switch, the Nintendo Compendium there. And I know because I remember we put in the XSGaming podcast, and we put all the stuff in there, and because there's been a few, and actually, if that is the case, let me pull this sucker off screen, because when we were chatting earlier, the pre-show, I didn't show you inside here, but inside here is part of the compendium of stories in here. So let me see if I could find your mug in the giant 500-page re-release. Because over the years, I had changed up the way that I do my books, so I don't do 3 separate books anymore. Because I did the complete NES, the NES oddities, which covered all the different games that we didn't play at a show or at a store. We wouldn't have saw it at Toys R Us. That's a better way to say it.
Yeah.
And then the compendiums of personal stories. Well, that all needs to be in one book. So we put it all in one book, and now this book is gigantic. So the Super Nintendo book was huge. The NES book is huge. I'm just skimming through as I'm chatting. There's some
it's
well, and
some weight to it.
Well, the one thing is that this one definitely is you.
Yep. Yeah, that's me talking about Super Mario Brothers 3. Yeah.
Called it the grandfather clause. Yep.
Yeah, my grandpa was the person who got me into video games. He was a big Atari fan, and I have on my game shelf, I have Atari on the 2600 is actually his game. And it's the first video
Wow.
game I ever played. The first video game I ever played. I have it sitting there, and also an instruction manual for Pac-Man for the Atari 2600 because he had Pac-Man and he hated it, but he was too stubborn to admit that it was bad because he loved Pac-Man.
That's really crazy. Yeah, so like that is awesome though. And the thing is though, that is a piece of history. And the interesting thing is that over the years, like the stuff that has been put out there and published, you don't realize is going to be important or how it's going to be important. So that NES Oddities book I mentioned has every single NES homebrew game, aftermarket game, to NES Maker getting created. And so, because that was when it was published, I didn't predict that Nintendo Age was going to go away. And so that's where I got, I was part of the community. That's where I got a lot of the information. You could see all the posts in the forums to see, oh, there's 6 copies of this game that exist in the world. It's all gone. So my book is the only way to find it. And something similar, that compendium, those stories, your grandfather's stories preserved forever. Like people have it in their collections. The other thing is that there's people in there that have passed away that have given stories. Vintenda, Vinnie Cooper. And I mean, I was looking back and it was like too many games. I did a panel and it was with RGT85 before he blew up. And you had D and Dave with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, freaking one, Dave passed. And it's like crazy stuff. And again, I feel old as shit, just like I couldn't get all the technological crap to go well with this recording for like a damn hour. But on the other side, though, it's all preserved. Those stories are out there. And to me, it's like
there's stuff. Yeah, there's stuff that's on my YouTube channel that because I've been doing YouTube now for 12 years, and there's stuff that's on my channel that I'll go back and watch, and I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad I have this. It's almost like watching home movies because like I can just watch an old video from like 2013, and it's just I love watching some of the like the old Christmas specials and stuff like I used to do with the band.
Yeah. So I have some generated questions for you, and they're going to be funny. Because some of it is going to be like, yeah, no shit. But it's on purpose. Because, like, of course, you mentioned that you like to do your, talk about what you've been playing in your one series. And we're going to do that at the end. Absolutely. We're going to talk about, like, some games that we've been playing. But, so the first one, your channel often delves deep into both retro and modern gaming. What inspired you to bridge these two eras of gaming for your content?
I think it's just because I've always just loved video games. Like I was getting retro stuff before it was like, before I don't want to sound like I'm a gatekeeper or something, but I was doing it before like the retro boom of YouTube. I was going to Funko Land and buying a lot of cheap games because they were cheap. And I didn't have a whole lot of money, and I was like, I want to play Super Contra. I've never played Super Contra at the time, so it was new to me. And I always felt like no matter what if the video game's good, it's going to be good no matter what console it's on or graphics or whatever. So that kind of happened that way, and then when I started doing like YouTube, and I found Happy Console Gamer, Classic Game Room, Pete Dorr, the OGs, and I found those, and they're like, man, they love retro games too. I love retro games because most of the people I knew didn't really play retro games. Like they were always kind of like weirded out when they'd come in my bedroom and see like some NES games. They're like, are those NES games? And I'm talking about this was like 2001. Like this was like early 2000s. In fact, this is NES. You still have this? And now it's like, you have this, but yeah, I mean that's kind of how it happened. So like, and then I didn't want to just stay in the past either. Like as much as I love retro games, like there's still like new stuff that's coming out that's amazing that I want to talk about. I just don't want to stay in the 90s. So it's always been like that on my channel, where it's been retro but a little bit of modern in there as well. It all kind of coexists in some way.
Yeah, I feel like the retro to modern like ebbs and flows too. Like, cause I've never been one to jump onto the latest games that are coming out, but now the latest games are indie and they're retro inspired. So like, and that's kind of the channels I gravitate to watch are the interesting ones that cover stuff that I enjoy. And then it seems like, I mean, you mentioned a lot of the guys from the All Gen Gamers podcast, like back in the day.
That was, and that was another thing too, because before I started doing YouTube, I was getting into podcasting. So I always loved talk radio, and I was listening to All Gen Gamers back then. And that was something that always resonated with me when I'd listen to their show. It's like not only did they have good chemistry, like all the hosts, like it was really, really cool. But they would, talk about what was going on currently in gaming, but they'd go back and be like, hey, let's talk about the Neo Geo, and, Gamester would talk about some, relic Neo Geo console that was in his garage that no one knew about back then, and it was really, really cool. Like, I thought that's what made content creation like alluring for me. Like, oh man, I feel like I'm missing out if I don't do anything about this,
Exactly. Yeah, and it's like not really chasing quote unquote the algorithm or looking for subs or whatever it is. Like, I mean, we were jokingly talking as we were doing the pre-show. Like, I'm like, yeah, with me and my 50 freaking subs, like I might as well just put this as the audio because everybody listens to video game bullshit on the podcast apps. Like we were the old school freaking Wild West of podcasts because there weren't a ton of video game podcasts when I started doing this shit. And we took the long pause and all that and the whole history. But it's like I never chased the algorithm, so my YouTube channel is like gets no coverage except for people who know me.
Yeah. And that's some of my problem too. And I remember I talked to someone earlier about this. We were talking about algorithms and stuff. I'm like, I could follow the algorithm. Like I know what videos people are watching and what will grab people, but that's not necessarily what I want to do. Like I want to make a video. Like I made a video and it's funny because sometimes it works in your favor too. Like most of the time, like 50-50, like for me, like sometimes it either works or it doesn't. Like I'll make a video, like I made a video talking about how I retro in 2024 recently.
Okay.
And that video blew up. And I was like, I didn't think that video was going to blow up. I was like, who's going to care how I play old video games now? Who's going to care? But it was pretty popular. And then like I'll make another and then I'd like do like another video. And I'm like, this might be the one right here, and it gets like 20 views. But I'm like, that was fun. And the thing is I'm a very creative person, and it's almost like I like to create things that I can also create more things out of. So I like to play music. But I also like to play music and I like doing my own production, or I like to film. I like to shoot videos, but I also like to video edit. And sometimes I'll just, do those things just so I can do those things corresponding, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, and the other piece is like, kind of alluded to it, like, you're not going to chase the algorithm because it's not fun to do.
It's really not. But most people I know that chase the algorithm, like they're the ones that are always just like been out of shape about content creation. They're the ones that are like my mental health and blah 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 because it's strenuous. It's
stressful.
Very strenuous,
Yeah.
And it's just like people don't realize how much you have to do to make this kind of content, especially if you're like one person. Like I see some people that upload like daily, and it's like one person, and I'm like, and if you notice, a lot of the editing and a lot of the production has naturally kind of taken a step back a little bit. I feel like we're seeing a lot more like raw content creators, like, more people filming on their phones. They're not trying to add all this stuff. And I think that's kind of cool because I think that inspires more people to make more content. And it also lets people who put a little bit more extra effort in their content, makes them kind of shine a little bit more too. But and then it makes it normal for people that we don't have to feel like we're obligated. We're doing like, oh, I have to add jump cuts. I don't have to.
No. Well, I mean, the thing is, I appreciate you complimenting how crappy my setup is here. It's great.
But no, you know what I mean. You know what I mean, though. You know what I mean. Like I watch
practical effect right here next to the logo. It's so good. There's literally a logo right next to my practical effect. It looks so good.
Next time you should put something on the ceiling fan like it's Superman or something, so he's like spinning the whole time.
Spinning. Yeah, it'd be hilarious if
Dude,
anybody notices.
get like a Mario, like Mario 3, like the raccoon suit.
Yeah. No, the thing is though, is that most of the channels that I gravitate toward, number one, got to be kind of in my realm of interest, but also like it's more like what I'd rather want to watch, the style I'd want to watch. Like you mentioned, Happy Console Gamer, like definitely been somebody I've watched forever. And the thing is, thing that sucks though about the damn algorithm is like you upload a video and I don't see it unless you like post it on social media or something. And it's like
that's
subscribed. I don't know why I don't see the damn shit.
Yeah, it's so weird how they kind of like they tuck channels away, because I mean I've known plenty of friends of mine who's uploaded videos, and I'm like, I didn't even know it didn't even show up on my front page. But I tell you what did show up on my front page, and that's all the news on Marvel and DC, because I watched one video about Batman, the Killing Joke, and they're like, YouTube's like, you must really love Batman, so we're gonna put that all over your front page, and I'm like, Batman's cool, but I want to see what my friend's doing. That's why I subscribed to their channel and rung the bell,
Yeah, you ring the bell and you still don't see the shit, and it's like, damn.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go the next generated question. You've covered a wide range of genres and titles. Are there any lesser known games that you feel deserve more attention, and why?
Like an underrated game.
Some you've played that you're like, this game is dope. Maybe you even did a video on it, but like, this game is dope. More people need to play it. It could be retro, it could be modern. Like,
yeah, I'll probably pick gosh, man, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of like a game I've been playing lately that I just haven't heard any. Mighty Goose Game. No one talks enough about Mighty Goose Game.
Goose Game.
It's like it's like Metal Slug meets a goose
in a robot suit.
Everybody. Yeah, and he's like blasting everybody, and it was one of those games that like I saw people talk about when it first came out, and it just went radio silent. No one ever talks about it anymore. But that was a really good game. That was awesome game.
How do you feel about that? What you said there at the end, because that is something that bothers me as an old gamer. The latest, the greatest, the hotness. Everybody's talking about Mighty Goose Game. And then next week, now we're talking about the next thing. Next week, now we're talking about, like, literally it is an ADD, ADHD attention span in the community where they're covering one thing. And now if we do an episode on Untitled Goose Game, which also is a different one.
Really good.
But we cover one on Mighty Goose Game. And then nobody's gonna engage it on YouTube because they moved on to the game that was released this week. Like, how do you feel about that crap?
That's what burned me out on reviewing games, honestly. Because like I said earlier, I'm one person. Like when I put up a video, all the editing, the script writing, everything's done by me. And, I was getting to a point where I was reviewing a lot of games and I just didn't have enough time, between normal real life stuff and YouTube stuff. I didn't have time to actually enjoy the games. I'd be like playing them and I'm just like, sometimes the embargo would be so short and I'm like, thank God it's on the Switch. I can play it on my way to work or something. But it got to the point where it was just terrible. And now, I feel like it's funny because I feel like I'm an old gamer because I will play a game that's like 4 months old. Because no one's talking about it anymore. I'm like, oh man, have you guys played Stellar Blade? And they're just like, yeah, like dude, where have you been? That's like the game's like a month old now. It's like it's new to me. But it's terrible. I hate it.
So what happened to yes, and you are old and I am old and we are all old now. My daughter will call me a damn boomer. And I'm like, dude, I was born in the 80s. Well, okay, I'm a boomer. But like what happened to back in the day, we'd save up our money and then buy the game and we might not be able to get it for months or till Christmas. Like And so we're kind of used to that delayed release and enjoyment of a game, but now like everything is at our fingertips and media is like a priority, which it didn't used to be. So now it's everybody's buying the latest thing because it's a couple bucks. We're going to buy the game. I mean, there's a game that I've been playing that I just found out about didn't just find out, but just finally played this last week. And it's freaking awesome. I mean, we can just segue it because we'll get back to more questions because it applies.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Balatro? So Balatro, I listen to a bunch of podcasts while I go run. And I haven't listened to some podcasts since last fall. I don't know where the hell they've been, but something called XS podcast.
Those guys,
those assholes, where are they at?
About the weather.
but like everybody's been talking about Balatro and playing it for a while, and I finally got around to playing it. It is poker on crack. So essentially you have poker and then there's a bunch of modifiers that you unlock as you go through the blinds. So you'll have a blind where you have to make certain poker hands and you'll get chips. And once you get a certain amount of chips, you move on to the next blind, the next level. As you go through, there's a store in this roguelike piece where you can buy jokers, and these jokers will do multipliers and crazy shit based on you play. And it's like, sounds super mathematical and boring to me when I first heard about it. I got it on sale on Steam, and the last 2 days it's been my life. After like
you sound like me with Dicey Dungeon. That's how I felt with Dicey Dungeon when my friend, my guitarist, was telling me about Dicey Dungeon. And he's like, yeah, it's like a roguelike, but it's like a board game and you roll dice and it's like a turn-based RPG. And I'm just like, I don't know, I'll check it out. I checked it out. I'm like, dude, this game's freaking amazing. It's so good.
Dicey Dungeon. Let me write that one down.
It's on Switch too. It's on Steam and Switch.
Dicey Dungeon is. I bet I have it, and I haven't played the damn thing. That's the other problem. Backlogs are infinite. So
it happens.
But yeah, like Balatro is awesome. I still haven't been able to. I'm not even close to being able to beat the damn thing. Because I think you have to do like 20 levels or some shit because you do like small blind, big blind, and then there's a boss blind, and the boss blind will be like every 7th card that's dealt is down, so you can't even fucking see it to make your poke. Like, or you don't get a multiplier on any spade, or you can only play one type of hand, or you have to play all 5 cards. So instead of playing a 3 of a kind, you have to play. Like, it's insane, but it's so fucking addictive, and it's simple. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It is perfect. Right in my wheelhouse. The other one, which people have been talking about the last week, I guarantee next week they're going to stop freaking talking about it because of the way that the community goes. One-button bosses.
One-button bosses? No, I hadn't heard
One-button bosses.
That sounds good, though.
These are all indie style, too. They all are pixel graphics and shit, by the way. Balatro's pixel graphics with the cards. One-button bosses is you literally play the game with one button, rhythm-based a little bit, and so the bosses are in the middle, and your character circles around it, kind of like Gyrus, and you hit a button and you change directions, and then you get like different moves as you go through, but like they'll shoot like missiles, and you gotta avoid the missiles, or they'll shoot a red area, so you gotta make sure you're not in the not red area, and then there'll be lines that you have to avoid that move around, and it's all like pixel graphics and crazy shit.
That sounds right up my alley because I love like bullet hell and like dodging stuff. Like I love that in video games.
Kind of reminds me of like if you would have been on a rail in Undertale to try to avoid everything. Like you're on a rail.
Yeah.
Super fun so far. I don't know about, for me, the replayability, the stayability of that game, just because there's a lot of coordination involved. Because that's all it is boss to boss to boss to boss. But it is pretty freaking dope. But that's one that people probably won't be talking about in a week or two, is one button bosses. Yeah.
There's just so many games that are coming out too. Just so many games. Like I'll give you a good example. I still haven't played Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door on the Switch, the remaster.
Me neither. I own it. I haven't played. I own it.
I haven't played it, and like we already have the new Mario Luigi Brothership coming right around the corner. It's like, yep.
Yes, we got that.
New Zelda.
Princess Peach Showtime, new Zelda. Like, I haven't played Princess Peach. I haven't played Mario Thousand Year. I got both because I do want to support, like, so they make more games. So we got to support this stuff. But yeah, I haven't had time to play them. I've had time to play them because I was moving. I talked about last episode. I played Elden Ring and the DLC and beat it.
Yeah.
So like, I had freaking time. I just chose to play Elden Ring that I haven't played in years. Again, old game. Nobody's gonna watch it for the algorithm because if I talk Elden Ring, but it was freaking awesome. Like that game was amazing. It's huge. It's a life killer. Now that I
still need to play it.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, I still need to play it. And see, by the time I play it, like say I haven't played Elden Ring yet. And you at least think of how old that game is. I go to somebody now and I'm like, man, I've been playing Elden Ring. They're like, the DLC. And I'm like, nah, I just started playing it. I'm like, what? Huh?
Oh, I mean, I literally just did that and it was fun as shit. And, now that I'm, done moving and all that, and I'm at work and doing all the things, like the time is more limited. So I'm now naturally moving back to indie experiences. But like it's Elden Ring was awesome. Just prepare yourself. It's fun. It's great. Like there's a difficulty curve as all Dark Souls style games are, but it's satisfying as hell.
Yeah, the good thing is I've waited so long to play it that now that when I play it, there's going to be so many in-depth walkthroughs, and I'm like, oh, this isn't too bad. They did it all for me.
Oh, there's some obscure shit that I had to figure out, and I'm like, thank goodness I can go to a damn website or watch a quick video.
Yeah.
But like, dude, it's freaking nuts though. But yeah, like I 100% went to Elden Ring, and that was a fun one. And then again, played it with some modifiers. I did damage modifier and defense modifier. So that way I could do more damage and take more damage. And I still was getting my ass killed all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it was awesome with mods on. 100%. So here's one. So you had alluded to Nintendo and NES games, and back in the day, NES games versus public. One of the questions here. Collecting physical media is a big part of your channel. You had mentioned that people back in the day would be like, surprised that you had NES, and now they're shocked that you have NES because it's now in the zeitgeist. How do you see the future of physical game collecting in an increasingly digital world?
I think it's going to just keep getting more and more popular.
Really?
More and more popular. Yeah, because I mean, now you're seeing younger generations getting into physical media. Like they're all getting into records, and and we're at a weird time that like Xbox 360 and PS3, all these consoles here, like they're the nostalgic consoles to the younger generations. So they're gonna be like those that are going out and buying like their Xbox 360 games, going back in time, being like, oh man, I remember playing this. Those are going to be the ones that like are going to have that game. And thank goodness they had that game because that game was only like made but so many times. That's going to be someone's like how we look at the NES like Championship Edition card, like something like that. Like someone's going to have something like that for the Xbox 360, and it's all going to be because of people wanting to collect physical media in some shape or form. Like I mean, I like the convenience of digital. It's very convenient. But I mean, even when I'm playing a digital game, like if I really love that game, I have to go and buy a physical for it. Yeah, because I feel like I own it at that point. I'm like, oh, I have it, because otherwise it just feels like I'm. It was almost like going back and looking at the like when you had like an iPod in your CD collection. Like I would have like my iPod full of like the songs and stuff, but it didn't feel the same as it did when I had like a CD wallet full of the actual compact disc. That makes any sense?
Oh yeah.
It's a weird like tangible feeling. It's like, oh yeah, I have it now. Like it's in my collection. But
ownership.
I recently bought E's Memories of Ciselda. It's on the Vita and it's on PS4. I bought the PS4 edition. And what was so nice about it, dude, is it had a full color instruction manual, and it's like 29 pages. I counted the pages. I'm like, ooh, this is an instruction manual right here. And I'm sitting there going through it. The paper was kind of thick. It was kind of sticking together. I'm like, man,
Nice.
and I feel like I'm back in like the early 2000s or something. But yeah, that's always special, since everything's getting a little bit more digital, like to have that essence of finding an instruction manual and like new media. I'm like, oh, this is nice. So I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, I think like the gaming companies like Microsoft and Sony and all them, they want us to be like all digital. They want us on a subscription service. That's why they're pushing cloud gaming. That's why, oh, you
Yeah.
can play Xbox now with just a Fire Stick. You don't even have to buy an Xbox. Like they've been pushing it so much, but the problem is like we don't really want to be there. We're like, yeah, it's cool, but I still want to buy a good size bulky box to play my video games on.
I mean, that is bulky. No, I mean, so the thing that's interesting though is now in the last year, physical media is moving away from all these stores though. I mean, we already have, Walmart and Target and even Best Buy have put in their notices essentially, and we're about to lose physical media at those places. So, my worry as a gamer, my worry as being part of a physical publishing company, is that even the GameStops are going to stop carrying because GameStop's Funko Pop stop at this point. They're going to stop carrying all of these games, or even worse, because GameStop in this new retro invigoration where they have old games have started to carry limited editions, which they didn't when I established premium edition games in 2020. Now they do collector's editions. You'll see them back behind the counter on the shelves. But my worry is with the big, like, retail outlets stopping their ordering, is that Nintendo is going to see that and then make corporate decisions based on the lack of big box retailers for their physical outputs. And so either number one, they're going to all move to digital giant boxes, and go that route because there's no way for them to maximize profits. Because if I'm going to put everything in every Walmart, I got to order a bunch of copies of the game that Walmart pre-purchases to put in at a whatever price. Instead of me now as premium, we put everything up on our website and people come to the website to buy our games. And then we do distribution with small game companies to carry it in their stores. And there are distribution companies out there too that'll like take it and distribute it in Europe. So we're not selling, so that way people in Europe can get the game without paying a crap ton for shipping. But my worry is Nintendo makes something and Switch 3 maybe, because the Switch 2 likely has already been, it's already been conceptualized. They've already alluded to it that they're going to make an announcement in the fall or the winter about the next Nintendo console. But my worry is in the future it may go away because of the lack of it, or it becomes for a small publisher increasingly expensive to publish, which then kills it because you don't get enough sales because the people collecting, because again, we've both established we're old. The people that are collecting are becoming few and fewer between. And somebody like me, I'm going to pick a game to publish that is based on availability, that the game's available, and also like able to publish it. And so that game itself, when the stars align, may not align with your taste as a collector. So then you wouldn't pick up that game because you're not going to play it. And that's not anything against the person. It's more so it then takes me as a company, I got to pick stuff that has a wide appeal, and you turn into a limited run games that focuses more on big IPs at this point. Like you're seeing, they're publishing Doom, they're publishing Homba for the PlayStation, which is a smaller IP, but it's an IP. Like they go into those.
Right.
So they used to be the indie company, and now they're doing major IPs because as they grew, they had to make sure that they can make mine to stay afloat. And like
Yeah.
I'm the indie company at premium now, but if I pick a game and that's not necessarily in your wheelhouse, like I it, and that's every physical collector is it has their likes and their tastes. They're not going to just blindly support a company at this point. So there is that was a big long tangent, but on the side is does that change any of your perspective of with big box retailers? Because you mentioned vinyl records, there was that reinvigoration of bringing vinyl back in where there's not even CDs anymore, there's just vinyl. So how does that
Yeah.
tailor it?
I will say this is going to be one time when it comes to Nintendo. This is one time that I don't want Nintendo to like try to be too modern because a lot of people when they talk about Nintendo are like, man, Nintendo's behind the times, blah blah blah. Let
Yeah.
them stay behind the times when it comes to media. Like let them stay in their own little bubble, because see, this is one thing I will say that I've noticed in my town is we've always had this one retro store in town for years. But now we have like two or three more retro stores in town. And when you go in those retro stores, like sure, they have like, the retro games, blah, blah, blah. But they're always also carrying like limited run and like, stuff that's out there. And I'm like, man, this would be almost kind of like an underground boom. That'd be kind of cool. Like the rise of like the mom and pop video game stores that sells like the exclusive indies, And I'm a big fan of like punk rock and underground stuff. So when I hear that stuff, I automatically get like, oh man, that's gonna be kind of cool. Be like, oh, let's meet up at video game time because they just released this copy and we can get a physical over here. That would be kind of cool. I mean, I don't know. I'm not into the business, so I don't know all the things that go into it. But that would be kind of cool too. I'm like, man, that'd be kind of nice. But um,
I mean,
I don't know. Nintendo.
it's doable to do the punk rock style, and the other thing is like you think about it. There's also one other thing outside of your indie game stores, and that is the rise and current popularity of conventions. Um,
Yeah.
and with premium, we did something that started, and I think another company might have now jumped on, but we've done convention exclusives like a San
Oh
Diego Comic
yeah.
Con, but an exclusive release. Now imagine punk rock style, an
Oh yeah.
exclusive game, not just
Oh
a
yeah.
variant. So like, okay, I want to get Dead Cells. One, let's say I want to get one button bosses. Premium has it. It's only going to be at Midwest Gaming Classic. They're going to have a website so you can still buy on their website because you don't ever want to like be like, well, you don't live in this area, but it's
Yeah.
only at this convention. Um, that would be ridiculous. Um,
That makes you think of it makes you think of this one horror punk band that I follow from Japan called Balzac. And Balzac, like, they do stuff like that. Like they'll have exclusive albums, like singles at their shows that you can only buy at their shows, but they also make action figures too. So like they'll have like
it's
their
cool.
own like dude, there's like a whole underground scene of their action figure sets, like these like creatures that they make. And it's like, oh yeah, if you wanted to get this, zebra printed, bat skeleton thing, it was only at the Osaka show. And I was like,
Holy
oh man,
crap.
that's so cool. Like I love little stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is, if Nintendo would lower their minimums for U.S. publishers, it's why there's only a couple of us left, including limited run games. Like I could probably count it on my hand how many are left. Um,
It's wild.
yeah, it would lower the minimums. Like if it was like if I could order 1,000 copies, like I could do it. But at 5,000 copies minimum, that it isn't doable because in order to turn a profit on that stuff, you have to sell. which is crazy.
Mhm.
But it would be super cool. I would do it. But again, though, I mean, I've mentioned it on the previous podcast. I'm not the CEO of Premium Edition Games anymore because the military has extended me. So I just am the founder, and I do a lot of the creative, including instruction manuals. Of course, there's instruction manuals in my books,
Yeah.
and in my games, and of course, I've done strategy guides, hardcover, high quality strategy guide, of course. But but it's again like I still feel like my stuff is everything I've ever done is always innately been underground. Video Game Bullshit was the underground podcast. Higgins Alley Books is the underground books, and Premium Edition Games is the underground cool shit for video games. Like it's like just living the dream. But like it's an interesting thing when you go back to talking about like it might go up with collecting in the future as people become more nostalgic about what they missed out on. Like,
yeah. I mean, we're already kind of seeing it with the Xbox 360 and PS3 now. Like,
yeah.
it's so weird. I go on like social media, like Twitter, X, whatever. I go on there and it's like so many more people are talking about the PS3 now. I'm like, whoa, what's this? And it's because, they're in their early 20s. And, when they were growing up, that was their Super Nintendo, Genesis, whatever, was the Xbox 360 and PS3. That's like my nephew. My nephew's almost a teenager. He's like almost 13. His first console was the Wii U. Like that's going to be his nostalgic console. That was his first console that we ever had him play Mario Kart and stuff like that. So when he's like my age and maybe he's like on some crazy podcast or something because he's a big gamer too, he'll be like, "Yeah, I remember, getting my Wii U as a wee lad." So weird.
That's so cool though. And the thing that's interesting though is that like there was because Pong was first generation, Atari was second generation, NES was third generation. There's this weird freaking gully between Atari and NES. Like for some reason, like I grew up with a damn Atari in the house. We had an old Pong machine too, Super Pong in the house, like all hand me down shit because I grew up, without means. And it was like I got an NES though when I was about my daughter did like 11, 12. I finally got an NES, and this is in the 90s almost, like late 80s. This is like when Genesis was already starting to come out, but the thing is that like a lot of us from that NES era, we don't necessarily go back to Atari too much outside to play it for a couple minutes. Like I'm not building a giant collection of Atari. Some people are. But like I'm not personally doing it. A lot of people that run in the same circles I do, they're the same boat. And I actually got into a conversation. He was heated. I wasn't because I was like, it's nothing to be heated about. But he was an antiquities dealer. And he had NES games there. And he's like, well, NES is going to do the same thing as Atari. Like that's how the antique and that's how that whole scene goes is that certain stuff from eras will fall off. And it turns into and then like I think it was after that COVID hit and after that Heritage Auctions hit and NES went went 100 times value and everything, and then it came back down a little bit. But it's very interesting that he was he's 100% sure because that's how history was, and I'm like, no, there's a certain artistic aspect to NES and the creation and creativity based on the limitation of the console, but you still had just enough because Atari was more bleeps and blocks, and so it was gameplay. And then NES started to have story and a little bit more pixel art, which took a art form of its own, and the chiptune music and the scene, which chiptune music ended up getting classical influences. I mean, you got damn Bit Brigade on your shirt right now, and they literally take Mega Man and make it into metal and stuff from the NES era. So it's like I feel like there's too many hooks once you hit third generation and forward that there's always going to be something.
Well, have you noticed too that there's almost like a boom on aesthetic wise with like the early PlayStation era? Like the people are like you'll see it on like social media like TikTok and stuff where people make filters be like, this is what you look like in a PlayStation 1 game. And it's like we've gotten to the point that like pixelated, polygon, fuzzy house music is like the younger generation's like, man, this is really, really cool. This is like a whole vibe. And then I look at it and I'm like, man, I remember looking at this and being like, it can't get any better than this. Like, man, this is amazing. The other day, I actually played Nightmare Creatures 2 on the Dreamcast. I played that the other day. And like, yeah, that game's a chunky mess, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, I can see where this like would have been like playing Bloodborne or something, you know? It's just like it was really, really cool, the whole aesthetic to it.
Well, and it's interesting is like, I play indie games because I enjoy indie games, but then there's also games that I play that we may potentially sign as a game. So we have a testing section for premium. I'm typically not testing a lot of them because I'm working and doing all this stuff, but there's been quite a few games that have that polygonal aesthetic from the PS1 era. And we got team members, 10, 15 years younger than I am. They're like, oh, this was awesome. This is exactly what we need. We need tank controls because they made tank controls in the modern game. But I'll sit there and be like, yeah, but this game plays terrible, it plays clunky, and it's not necessarily that I don't like the aesthetic, because we do have a game. We actually announced it on the last Premium Direct called Alice in there, and it is badass. Oh no, it's called Alicia, not Alice Madness Returns. That's a different game. Alicia, and it was an older game, but it has tank controls, it has everything, and it plays great. No, but there's some that just do the damn aesthetic and have terrible controls, and then copy everything out of Resident Evil or something, and then I'm playing it. I'm like, yeah, but it plays terrible. But
you know what it makes you think of? And it makes me think of when Mega Man 9 and 10 came out. Like, you remember, like, when Mega Man 9 came out, and it was just like, oh my God, we got a new Mega Man, and it's the NES Mega Man. Like, that was such a big deal. And it's like, you look at it now, and it's just like, oh, we get the whole indie scene that, does this on the norm, like pixelated graphics. But that was like the start of something really, really big back then. I was so floored that they went back to the old. It made me want to get a Wii at the time. I was like, man, I want to get a Wii and play this,
Yeah, I loved them. In that realm, I actually played something recently. Have you heard of Mega Man Maker?
No.
Oh my God. So PC only, from what I'm tracking, or computer only. But essentially you go to, I think it's probably just megamanmaker.com, I would assume. But you go to the website, you download the program, it creates a program, you make it full screen, but you literally can download levels from just like Mario Maker. And you can make your own too. And then they got Wily Castle. If you got it on your shirt, a Wily Castle level where it'll pull together 5-1. You could set your difficulty range or whatever based on how people rate it. And you play through Wily's Castle playing random levels. And it'll give you a random build. Yeah, dude. And they give you a random build.
I feel like the people that would make levels on that game are just like terrible people. I feel like some like some of those levels are just going to be in, because I remember some of those Mario Maker levels. I'm just like, what is wrong with you guys? Like, holy crap! I loved Mario Maker though, and I loved the hard stages too. But like some of those stages were like intense. So I can only imagine if Mario got intense like that, Mega Man intense. Oh my God.
Yeah, Mario Maker, I put it on easy difficulty to enjoy it. I'll watch Kaizo Mario and all that shit on YouTube, watch other people play it and enjoy it, but I'm not going to subject myself to the anger. But no, it was cool. They got like cool build outs in Mega Man Maker 2 where it's like you are Mega Man, you have only the crash bomb and you go through, or you have there's this one, it was like a time stopping mechanic, and then you can shoot, and so like certain blocks you have to stop, and you're on moving platforms and you could alternate and stuff. Like it was super creative. That's and cool. Yeah, so like I'd highly recommend Mega Man Maker. It reminded me of Mega Man 9 though, for sure, because Mega Man 9 was harder than Mega Man 10. Mega Man 9 was freaking
I didn't beat 9. I didn't beat 9, but I beat 10. But 9, it kicked my butt.
Because then you have 9 and 10. You have Mega Man Cross Street Fighter, which Capcom actually released, which was a fan game, which is Mega Man with fighting Street Fighter bosses. And then you have the fan made, which is excellent, Mega Man Universe, which was so good. Hard as shit though. hard as shit though. But like that scene is so freaking cool, and like that's the thing though, the retro aesthetics that continue to go, and the Shovel Knights of the world though, it's like commonplace now.
And a lot of people are making some of these games in physical form, which is really important because we have a lot of sites that go down now, like the Super Mario World site. When that went down, it's like holy shit, man! Those were so many Mario World ROM hacks that just
because romhacking.net's gone, Vim's Layer's gone too.
Oh man, that pissed me off on that one. That was like my Fight Club site. I was like, don't mention that site.
Yeah.
I love that.
And like so I'm like, man, and again goes back to when I did a book on homebrew and then Nintendo Age went down. Like, where is that stuff preserved? The actual ROM hacks that were on ROM hacking that may go away. Where is somebody talking about what they were? Because like nobody's gonna know to Google them. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, it's Vim's Lair with all the different manual scans and everything else, and like it's just like, dude, it's like it's that's the shit that gives me anxiety as a creator. It's like, man, I could make a book on that stuff, but I don't have the time. Like, I'm doing a Metroidvania series. I'm still doing the Switch Collector series. I got the Genesis book coming out, and then I'm moving to TurboGrafx. Like, I got all this stuff already. I can't add more to it on top of game publishing and working full time as a sergeant major in the army. Like, I got time for that. I got time for that shit, man. So, I want to go back to your channel though for a question. We've been chatting about some games stuff because, like, so what has been the most challenging aspect of running your channel over the years, and how do you stay motivated to keep producing content?
My biggest challenge has been consistency. Like I don't get to upload videos like I used to. I used to do 2 videos a week, and now like I'm lucky to get 2 videos a month now. But I think what keeps me motivated is honestly putting on tunnel vision, to be honest, because I feel like when I don't have tunnel vision, when I'm getting too preoccupied with everything else around me, that starts taking more of my time. Like whatever's happening socially, I'll start being like, "Oh, I need to do this," and I get distracted, and then I look back and I'm like, "Man, I wasted so much time. I could have been making a video." And also just trying to make sure that if I get an idea that pops in my head, like write it down. Like even if I don't make the video yet, that's like something that when I am having a mental block of content, because that's the thing, like I don't just review games. I also do like topical stuff. Like I did like how I retro in 2024, or my go-to arcade games. Like if I go to an arcade, like what are the games I'm looking for me to like be like, this is a good arcade. So like the other day, a video that I'm working on that I was looking at, that I was just thinking about, I was like at work and I'm thinking about kaijus. I'm thinking about giant monsters. And I'm like, oh, I should make a video talking about my go-to kaiju games. Like just talk about kaiju games. There's so many different ones. Like, 13 Sentinels. You can talk about that. You can talk about the King of Monsters. You can talk about the Godzilla games. You can talk about, just so much.
I got 2 obscure ones that you may not have heard of.
What's that?
One's called Excito, the kaiju simulator. You play in 3D and you destroy freaking towns.
Oh, see, that would be good.
And then,
and that's another.
And then the other one is the Terror of Hemosaurus.
Huh.
And that one is a tribute to Rampage. And I know of that one because it's by the creator of Super Blood Hockey that we published, and we've been trying to sign that damn game for premium for a long ass time.
That's awesome.
But the game is badass. So imagine Rampage with physics. So, but it's kaiju, man.
Yeah, and see, and I'll tell you a little secret with my channel. Like I do a lot of these topics, and I'm talking about my go-to kaiju games. Now I'm making this video because I want to talk about kaiju games, obviously, but also I always leave my comments open. I'm like, hey, do you have some recommendations? And like what you just did, someone will leave a comment like that. I got a new freaking game to play. I'm like, oh man, I gotta check this out. That
Yeah.
normally I probably wouldn't have found if I didn't open myself up and like project myself online with like my passion. So it's like energy given energy. So I mean like
Yeah.
that's one of my biggest motivations on there because like I always like finding new games and that was one of the reasons why I started watching YouTube because I was watching, Heavy Console Gamer talk about the TurboGrafx 16. I didn't grow up with the TurboGrafx 16 or Spider 1A. You remember Spider 1A collecting every
Turbo
TurboGrafx
views.
16? Oh my
Turbo
God.
views. Yeah.
It was a world I had never experienced firsthand when it was first in its beginning stages. But now I could look back at it and be like, man, I remember when that game came out. I didn't play it, but I remember seeing like a preview at Toys R Us or KB Toys. So
It's
it's new
crazy.
to the
It's like
fold.
you mentioned creators, and I'm like, I know a lot of people. Like I know, like it's like we've chilled. I don't think we've ever had a beer, but like we've known each other online forever. But it's like
Yeah,
Chris, Turbo Views Spider 1A, back
yeah.
in I want to say it was 2011, 2010. He had a hard drive crash, and
Oh
Turbo
shit.
Views was done. I told him I hit him up because we were chatting about a book thing or something. Maybe I was writing when I was doing the video game master club. I was writing on websites, and he sent me his hard drive. I recovered everything and
Oh
saved it
wow.
and sent it all back to him and opened it back up and
Yeah.
like he got all of his stuff back because it was like he had videos already like conceptualized. His scripts were there, everything. It was gone, and so I was like
Jeez.
so happy because I was like, dude, I'll do it just so you can continue to finish your freaking story, finish your project. Because like
Yeah.
I love the old school VHS style way he did it.
Yeah.
And so I just, yeah, eventually and he's like, oh yeah, I'll get you copies. I'm like, dude, I still want to, I'll buy the copies. I want to support because it's not cheap. It's
Yeah.
not free for you to make physical DVDs and stuff. They did the box set that looks like a turbo at the end. That was so cool. But
Yeah.
it's like it's so wild, like stepping back and being like, oh yeah, I know Chris.
Hmm.
Like,
Oh
and
yeah.
again, I learned about more turbo stuff from him that I didn't know about, just like you.
Yeah. I learned so much.
So good.
And that's almost been almost a topic I've wanted to do. It's like I've almost thought about making a video being like games and consoles that I found out through other YouTubers and just
That'd be cool.
like, you know, like I didn't know that much about Sega CD until Games of War. Games of War, man. Like he talked about the Sega CD all the time. And I'm
And I
like,
don't know
holy
Games
shit.
of War, and I don't know that guy.
He's old school. Like
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
So now if I Google
Yeah.
Games of War on or look it up in the YouTube, because like Sega Lord X is one that I watch for a lot of Sega content,
Yeah.
and that's dope. And
Yeah.
a lot of it has a unique spin where somebody just gives their personal bias to it, which is fun. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like you're talking about like also finding out about games and consoles and stuff you didn't know about, and like one of the books that I also have marinating right now is I'm going to do indie gaming gems because I have the hidden gaming gems book, which was number one that I wrote,
Mhm.
and so indie gaming gems, and I have been that's why I have Bolatro and those games on my deck is my deck is a catalog now that's going to fill that book. It's 1,000 games, that was the problem. I found 1,000 games we would like as retro based gamers. And they're
Yeah.
good. And they're good. And that's the problem. And it's like, that's why I can't even look at those for like premium edition games because I can only do a couple of games a year. So it's like, it's
Yeah.
thousands of freaking games. And to put things into perspective, the Sega Genesis book, I started working on it and laying it out in 2017. And it is now launching next month with book Backer Kits Booktopia is where I'm launching it. But like it's been that many years to finalize that damn book, and so it's like, man, I've been working on I've been collecting games for a year or two on indie,
Mhm.
and it's like, but then that is going to again
Gonna be
catalog it too and historically preserve like that oddities book, dude.
I just cannot imagine somebody that's going to be collecting every single physical Switch game.
I know
Like
people that have.
Like, good God, man. Because I was thinking about it, I'm like, man, the Switch has like so many games. Like not just like games in general, but like physical games. Like so many and like so many that are limited too. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like somebody like a couple years from now be like, I want to start collecting for the Switch. Boy, you got some work. You got some work to do, man.
Well, and the thing that's
Oh
funny
my.
though is that I have heard debates on collecting, and you can put your spin on this. So think about it. NES, right? You do your was it 776 or 767? The dyslexia kicks in, and I even though I wrote the book on it, the number is 7, 6, and 6 or 767 or whatever in there. But
Mhm.
that is the universally agreed upon amount of physical games to collect for NES. However, there's also an aftermarket scene where brand new games that rival or are better than some of the games that were licensed by Nintendo are released
Yeah.
all the time. The rabbit hole goes forever. So people justify it. They cut it off at Wario's Woods and say everything after that, doesn't count. For this is what I'm collecting. Have you seen this with Switch? Because I have. Where they say
Oh,
we're only going
really?
to collect Switch games that were in retail, in big box retail. Um, so,
Oh.
so then I go, does limited run games count? Because some of their games were in Best Buy. And what's retail? Oh yeah, that counts because they're in indie stores. I'm like, and they'll say, well, premium edition games doesn't count because they weren't in Best Buy. But I'm like, yeah, but I'm in dozens, if not hundreds, of retro games across the country and in Europe. I'm in stores. I'm just not in Walmart or Target. So does that count? And then you say, okay, so that doesn't count. Well, what about NIS America or Square, who only released the Final Fantasy collection on their website? They weren't in retail. Does that
Yeah.
count for your thing? So that's where I'm like, so you got to collect anything that is licensed by Nintendo. And my company is licensed by Nintendo. I go through all their wickets. The cartridges get produced by Nintendo Japan. Like it's freaking wild that that actually is a thing, but it is. So it's like, how do you can't skew it because there's no aftermarket community for Switch. Like it is all now. The only thing you can skew is collector's editions versus non-collector's editions, and just go
Yeah.
for regular copies. Now, a company like mine, I don't do just a case. We do the little box and the NES style sleeve on our regular versions for regular price. So that adds a level of complexity because then I'm only going to get the case only ones. Well, what about mine? Or what about a game that gets only a steelbook release from a big company?
Yeah.
And then you go, Switch is also region free and the internet exists. So if you can only buy games on the internet that are licensed by Nintendo, okay, so I'm only going to get US licensed releases. So I'm like, well, what about Final Fantasy 7 and 8 and Final Fantasy 9 that were only released in Japan in English? Those don't count.
Okay.
You don't want Final Fantasy 9 in your damn collection? Like I do.
How dare you?
You don't want Okami. You don't want Onimusha. This is all like year 1 and year 2 stuff. We're in year like
Yeah.
6, man. Like it's freaking insane. I haven't done it in a while. I'm really bad about now because I used to do the Switch Mania playcast, and I was keeping up on the shit. And two guys on there were collecting every game. One guy no gave up. The other guy, he might still be doing it, but there was over 3,000 physical games a year or two ago.
Wow.
And then you go digital, it's like tens of thousands, by the way, digital games on Switch.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but that's an insane library, man. And the problem is my collecting goals, which there's a lot of people, I collect shit that I like and I thought were cool.
Yeah.
And then I realized I have over 1,000 freaking Switch games. I'm like, that's too many. Like, I don't have the space for it. Do I only collect Switch? Um, it's going to be
I've
interesting.
I've really I've really started disciplining myself with games, and that's been kind of like some of my problems with content is like we were talking about how like new games, new games, new games, and there's a lot of times I really want to play this game, but I don't give in to FOMO, and I'm going to wait on it. And
Yeah.
so now, I don't buy as many games. I used to buy so many freaking games a couple of years ago, but now it's like every once in a while. But I got my PS5, but I got PlayStation Plus. I got the premium, so that's my personal blockbuster right there. I just
Game
find a game
Pass.
on there and play it.
I got Game Pass. And I use the Game Pass on PC on the Legion Go. So then, going back to the last episode where I was talking mods, I can apply a fucking mod to it too if I need to.
Yep.
Just so I can play it. Because that makes it a convenience factor. And I used to do the same shit. I used to buy tons and tons of games, pre-order all the stuff, all the new games coming out that were come out by limited companies. I still do for the games that I want personally, that I really want, or there's a really cool collector's item. And I mean, I'm running the premium thing, so I wouldn't want to shoot myself in the foot because, I don't collect my own stuff, but no, I do. But I only sign games that I personally love and make cool shit that I personally find cool. Mm-hmm. So of course I'm gonna like what I do. But on the other side, like I still even get limited run stuff where if they come up with something badass that I really want to have, like the Contra stuff that came out looked really freaking dope.
Yeah.
The little mini arcade shit they did for Mushahimi-sama and some of those, they made little mini arcade stuff. Those are cool as hell.
Oh yeah.
But like I'm not getting tons of games like I used to. I can't. And the other thing is there's a point as a collector you have to say it's okay to wait. Yep. Because like sometimes, we're gonna be screwed, you and me, and there's gonna be a damn game we're gonna want to be $200-$300 online. We're like, shit. On the other side though, we'll go to game conventions and find games in a bin and be able to pick them up and buy. I haven't played Elden Ring. It's here for $20. Cool. Let me buy it. And now you have a physical copy of Elden Ring for your PS5 giant brick that's now they're at PS7 and you can play it finally. 20 years later. Yep. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's a point, man. You have to.
Yeah, I mean there's Xbox 360 games I'm going back and I've never played that I'm like, this is cheap. I'm gonna go ahead and pick it up because my Xbox 360 still works. It's still kicking. I got the Elite, the slim Xbox 360, the Elite one or whatever, back in like 2009. Yeah, and it's still working. It still works, and I was like, man, just the fact that it still works, I need to like show it some TLC and play some Xbox 360 games.
You say that and you're going to do it on a stream or something, it's going to red ring on you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
No, he's like
thinking about it, but I was saying it.
Yeah, my 360 I got in Iraq when I was deployed from somebody who was leaving theaters. I was going in during the surge while we were like in war. And shit was in the desert, in all the sandstorms, all that shit worked great, worked forever. And then years later, it just shit the bed as soon as I got back stateside. Like, so lasted through the war, didn't last in like Florida where I was at the time or whatever. I'm like what the?
It's crazy.
Dude, I always go back to Nintendo and then their Game Boy that hit a freaking bomb and it's still, the Game Boy's still on display working. And it's like, 360 gets a red ring because, it spin too fast or something.
Yeah.
Like,
it moved like a centimeter in the box and it hit a little too hard and it just quits working. That's why it took me so long to get a 360. I didn't get the 360 until the Elite came out because it was like the newer model with the top fan.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, this one's actually more reliable. And I'm like, okay, because I had friends who had a 360 that had went through like 3 consoles, and I'm like, I got my PS2, I'm fine. I got my GameCube, my OG Xbox. I'll play Morrowind. I'm cool.
Exactly.
I'll play Morrowind.
That's hilarious. So I had 10 questions total. We got to like 3 or 4.
Oh, good.
No, but the last one is a freaking good one because we gotta do this. Because some of it talks into like collaborations and inspirations and stuff, which is dope. Which means we could absolutely do a second part eventually, which would be fucking dope.
Yeah.
Because we're at about like 2 hours of the total recording already, and so the podcast, I like to keep them around an hour. We're already gonna fucking break that shit, which is fucking cool. So looking to the future, Xander, what new directions or projects do you have in mind for your channel? are there any upcoming games or trends you're particularly excited to cover?
New trends would be like whatever new Nintendo thing's coming out. Dude, I am waiting for it. Because here's the thing, like a
Yeah.
lot of when the Switch came out, and you had all these content creators who were like Switch content creators, like
Yeah.
dude, they've seen better days. Like you can tell the folks that were really into the Switch for the past like 5 years are just now being like, yeah, that Switch, I'm telling you, like they're bored. And for their sake, I want a new Nintendo console because I want their spirits to be rising again. I want to see that, hungry Nintendo content.
Well,
And
and they're bored, which means the users are bored, which means the algorithm's bored, which means they're not getting the hits, which means they're also not making the capital.
yeah, yeah, it's just all shit downhill. So I mean, I'm ready for that. For me personally, I know I talked about it. I don't know if it was on the show or not or pre-show, but I want to do a little bit more bass covers and music covers. Because I play bass, I play guitar, play keyboards, and
That'd be dope.
my dream has always been to do like video game music. That's been my thing. I've always wanted to do chip tunes and video game music. So like I'm like, man, I got the stuff. I got the technology. I just need to, because I'm stubborn and I don't want to learn a new thing with my computer. I need to sit down and watch my 10-minute video on YouTube of how to sync OBS with Reaper. That's all I need to do. And then I'm like, okay, so I can do, bass covers. I can do, video game covers. I can learn songs like on guitar and keyboard and bass, record it in real time during a live stream.
Yeah.
Stuff like I want to do stuff like that. I think that would be a lot of fun. And I'm gonna still be making, game videos, like especially my Play and Tell series. Like I said, that's my thing. Like I freaking love making those videos and live streaming because I do live stream a little bit. A little bit. I've been doing a little bit more, but I'm gonna try to do it more. But live streaming, man, I got to be in the right headspace to live stream, and sometimes I'm just
Yeah.
like too tired. I'm like, I don't feel like talking to myself, So I don't live stream as much as I would want to, but I do. But yeah, I think that's pretty much the future. The main thing is like I just want to keep having fun,
Yeah.
just having a blast and finding out new ways of filming, new lighting setups, new microphones. I love always doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. You should definitely do the bass cover stuff. That'd be really cool. And
Yeah.
just even if you're playing other video game music behind and playing the bass live too and stuff, that'd be cool as hell too. Like it'd just be
Yeah, I mean,
cool to see that
because
side.
I love yeah, because I love playing like live music. I love being on stage, and I'm just like, I can do this in my studio. I can sit here right here with my bass and play a song and talk to folks. Yeah, they can request songs. One of the things I used to do, and because I learn everything by ear, and one of the things I did as a young kid was I would pick up my piano or something, and I would listen to the radio, and I would try to play whatever the radio is playing. And even if I messed up, I would keep on playing it until the next song. And it was almost like my own like personal guitar hero, like with the radio or
Nice.
whatever. But I still do that. Like I was doing that last night. I was like, you know what? I put on Black Sabbath Paranoid album, the whole album. And I'm like, I'm gonna play the whole album. I don't care if I mess up, if I'm like forget how something goes. I'm just gonna keep on trucking it and play for like 40 minutes.
Nice.
And I want to do that with a live stream space. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
That
Sure.
would be fun. Yeah, for sure. Like just gotta watch out with the copyright stuff. 'Cause YouTube is dumb with
That
that.
that's the only thing I was thinking, and I was like, some of the songs I could do 'em myself. I can learn how to play them on guitar and use drums or whatever. And then I was like, I also, this might give me another chance to broaden my spectrum of other content creators and talk to some YouTubers about, hey man, I really like the way you did this cover, this song, let's collab and do a song, and this could be on my live stream, and it could help your channel out, help my channel out, and have some fun. Like
That'd be
that could
dope.
be that'd be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Going back to what you said near the beginning too, like I have made a mental assumption and a mental agreement with myself that if Nintendo does something dumb and doesn't make the next Switch backward compatible, I'm done collecting outside of only Nintendo IPs. Like I am,
That's fair. Yeah.
because like if it's backward compatible, it goes forever. If it's not backward
Yeah.
compatible, new medium, new everything, starting over, all of that, like I still want to play the newest Mario's and Zeldas, but like I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole. I'm gonna continue on
Yeah.
Steam and on the digital marketplaces for all the indie
Yeah.
stuff. I won't go Nintendo.
I would not. I wouldn't blame you. I
Yeah.
would be. I mean, I feel like at this point, with the Switch being so successful, like Nintendo
They can't fuck it up.
backwards back. Like like that would just be the Achilles heel right there. Like it would be bleeding on the street at that point if it was not backwards compatible, because there's such a library. Because the thing about it is like if it's backwards compatible, I'm gonna buy the new Nintendo console, but you best believe I'll still be buying Switch games. There's still so many Switch games. I'm not going to be, and at that point I can retire because I have the first gen Switch. Like it's still trucking. I can retire it and put it away and be like, that's what I like about my PS5. My PS4 that still has the PT demo on it.
Yeah.
It's tucked away in my closet. It's tucked away, it's safe in my closet.
Mine too.
I don't have to worry about it because now I got the PS4. And guess what? Even though I have a PS5, I'm still buying PS4 games. If anything, I'm buying more PS4 games because they're cheaper.
I kind of feel like the whole collecting community itself has been slowing down because they're anticipating what Nintendo might do. And if they make it backward compatible, I feel like it'll help sales for Switch too.
Yeah.
Because like people be, oh, cool, my Switch 2 is going to play it. Now let me get all these games that I've been waiting on because I don't want to have to buy a console and all this new stuff, and then I can't play the stuff that I have pre-ordered.
Exactly.
So I feel like that's for sure happening. But on the other side, like, man, that means that the Switch library is going to go on forever. Because like me as a publisher, like there's thousands of games that I could potentially sign that don't have a physical. Like, and when I'm talking that Indie Game Jams book, none of those have a physical. Like, so my thing is that like I could go on until Nintendo ceases production of physical cartridges and just continue to support it, especially if they lower the minimums and all that stuff too. Like I could literally continue to preserve forever. And, I never did it with, to be millionaire and all that crap. Like I want to continue to support the cool shit and to go that route.
Yeah.
Like there is business ways you can approach a lot of those things and undercut and cut throat and do all that shit. I never wanted to do any of that. I'm not the CEO anymore. However, they're all still, all the tenants are still in place. And so it's like, it's one of those where I feel like it will change the landscape based on what Nintendo announces pretty soon here. And that's why that'll be super interesting to cover and why you're excited. Like it'll be freaking cool as hell, man.
It's gonna be a breath of fresh air for content creation for sure. Like I think we all need it because everything's so negative now. It's so negative. We need something to kind of get us excited again because when the PS5 and Series X came out, it was coming out at the worst time. No one was excited about it because we didn't know what was going on in real life. Like people just weren't into it, and then you couldn't get them. Like they were being scalped ever. So we were kind of robbed. We were kind of robbed with the excitement of a new PlayStation or a new Xbox. So I want us to have that with Nintendo, because I feel like when that comes out and they like no matter what happens, like there's going to be some sort of discourse. There's going to be people talking about it. And that's going to be really, really fun hearing people's different perspectives and opinions. Because think about when the Switch came out and how many people back when the Switch was first coming out, be like, this is going to fail. This is going to be terrible. Rest in peace, Nintendo. And like they've been eating crow for the past 5 years as part of their diet now.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Very close to passing PS2. Very close to passing PS2 in overall sales. Like,
who would have thought? Who would have thought? Who would have thought that would be a thing?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It is insane, man. So at the end here, I do want to cover some updates because I usually do some updates of what books are going on right now for Higgins Alley and shit. But the interview process is the formal process. We've been shooting the shit the whole time anyway. So, formal process. Oh yeah. So my latest and greatest book that I've been in the process of shipping is Metroidvania Chronicles Phase 1. This is Phase 1 of the Metroidvania Chronicles right here, as I'm showing it off on the video. I just now finished shipping out all U.S. backers for Kickstarter. Next week will be the European and worldwide backers. I am personally shipping out all the slipcases from the house here. So I had to wait till I moved and then get them all to my house to be able to ship them, because for some damn reason my warehouse, because I have so many books that I have to ship through a warehouse, they don't understand what media mail is. They don't understand how to put bubble wrap on something. So the books themselves, when they show up, they'll be media mail and they show up in a bubble mailer and they're fine. These, for some reason, these slipcases get dented. So I wrap them all up myself personally and have been shipping them all in Destructo mailers. So I've done that and gotten them all. So everybody who in the US who has done it should already have them. And the reason why is because my wife absolutely helps me with the shipping portions, and she does the labels. And you got to do a damn form for every international one. So she has to do like 100 forms now of whatever to print them off. And it's wild. And then the other thing that it allowed me to do with this shipping process is realize, okay, if you're going to do media mail shipping for these, because packaging them up appropriately, you can do media mail shipping. I realized that my warehouse is like charging me double to ship just the book than what I can ship everything for. And they're supposed to be doing media mail. So they've been doing they've been looking into it, and they got to reimburse me like thousands of dollars that they've overcharged me over the year. Because like I'm like, hey, go ahead and look into your process, because if I can ship this for like under $10 and you're charging me $20, like what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And some of the stuff should be cheaper. These are small. When I say like under $10, that's like this size, not the smaller form Metroidvania. And then Phase 2. Phase 2 is in the editing stage right now, and I got I think the stories in from personal people with their personal Metroidvania stories, because that is in the back of each volume. And I did have a critic, because doing YouTube content creation, doing book publishing, people have opinions. And this person was a critic and wasn't too nice about it and all that stuff, being kind of, a troll about it, but not really a troll, but a troll, because, it was a customer. So I think the difference is when you purchase a product, you're not necessarily trolling. You're more so just, and that it wasn't even angry, but it's being very critical. However, I look into that stuff, and I said it last week on the thing. I'm like, hey, if you think, like, if you want to do this, like, in a highbrow way, go ahead and write a book. I run a publishing company. I will absolutely publish a badass book on highbrow written reviews. Like, I am cool with it. That was kind of how I geared my response with that. But I also don't just take it sitting down. I look at, okay, how could I have done better with my writing? Because you said the writing is rudimentary and all this stuff, but like, I write the book for the lowest common denominator, not Jeff and Xander, who've played games their whole freaking life, but maybe a guy who's just now learning about this damn game and doesn't know of Super Metroid. So I'm doing it at a baseline. Not like, of course, this is geared toward a Metroidvania fan, but I want anybody, if I put it in a Barnes and Noble, like little Jimmy can pick it up and go, oh, what is this? And not like, it's not pontificating already. It's just talking about
it has to be inviting. It has to be inviting, totally.
But the one thing is, so I'm over here at the United States Army Sergeant Major Academy, and we are doing lots of writing. I realized through editing that I found another way. I hadn't used Grammarly before. And Grammarly catches a bunch of shit. So I just happened to run some reviews through it. I'm like, oh, this is exactly what this dude was talking about. Is I ran it through Grammarly. I'm like, oh, I could reword this stuff and make it more readable, like easier. So I actually am editing and taking volume 2 through Grammarly just to kind of clean up my reviews. And now it should be a lot better for volume 2, which is very, very interesting. And of course, I started the Metroidvania Chronicles as trying to do like a magazine, but I don't do anything small. I don't do anything like a little paperback magazine.
No.
What I didn't think about, and this was my own failure, is the cost of somebody who wants to collect all of these. The hardcovers, limited slipcases. So if somebody's going to get this for like $20, cool. But if they want to get one of these, I'm doing a low quantity. They're expensive to make. So somebody actually made a good point where they're like, man, I don't know if I can keep up with this because it's like, $60 a pop. And if you're doing every quarter or every half a year, that's like cheap because people collect lots of things. And so I was thinking about it. I'm like, I'll probably after Volume 2 focus on my other book series for a while and allow this to marinate and then do Volume 3, and it'll probably be freaking a beast instead of a small little guy. It'll probably be a bigger beast, but I will do that for sure. Because the other thing was I did upcoming games, and by the time the game book publishes, the games are out. I was talking,
and you can always like once you're finally finished with the series at some point, I don't know how long it's going to go, but you could always make like a big like cardboard kind of like case that goes over the collection, like a limited edition
box set. A box set. Yeah. I mean, there's options. I mean, I even do wooden casings, like laser.
Oh yeah.
But the thing is that Metroidvania Chronicles could go forever because literally people are always making Metroidvania, especially while it's a popular genre.
Oh my gosh, man! I was like, I got a message the other day called this game called Code Bunny, and it's a Metroidvania kind of game. And the creators messaged me, and they're like, "Hey, it's going to come out on Steam, I believe, in September." But they've been working on the game for like 4 years, and they're like, "Yeah, we want you to see if maybe you want to talk about it." And I'm definitely going to be live streaming it. I watched it, and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, this is my sort of thing. I like this kind of stuff."
So let me see if I have it bookmarked. Because like everything like a Code Bunny, I would. Code Bunny doesn't come up on Steam. They don't have it. They have it hidden.
Yeah, no, it hasn't came up yet. It's not on Steam yet.
Well, like if it's upcoming though, like typically there's a preview page. So I'm not even tracking that, and I'm tracking thousands of games coming out. Like it is insane.
This game looks fun. It looks fun, and that's the thing, though. I mean, there's like every other day, there's like some sort of new, and that's one of the things I like about social media. Unfortunately, that's not what I see on social media, but that's one of the reasons why I follow most of this stuff because I want to know about these indie games. I want to know about what's the next Blazing Chrome going to be.
Yeah,
I want to find out those kind of games because I mean, there's so many, and they slip through the cracks, and I just want to. If something slips through the cracks and it's really, really good, I want to give it attention in some form or fashion.
Well, and I actually asked some of the listeners via a poll if I should cover, since I'm gathering up indie games every week for the Indie Gaming Gems book, and eventually I got to freaking create a volume, by the way, but like eventually, but like I was like, should I do a section or an episode, like maybe a different episode series with Video Game Bullshit where I cover indie, the upcoming, and the ones that I found, so highlight the games I found. Like, I mean, I could literally go through and be like, all right, so here is what I have found for the games for the last week. And I talk about them. And I think I actually created a demo one where I was like, okay, here is what I have found this week for the indie games. And I don't know where I actually put the damn thing, but let me see. Did I call it project page?
That'd be great.
Because, like,
that would be cool.
So, for example, I found Balatro, but that is an indie game. But I literally found that within the week. There's a game called Ouroboros that I found. There's a game like there's just tons. Like, I mean, and it's like so. If I look into my like, 'cause I'm over on the deck right now, I have Steam games to download and to buy and download, and so I have games that I found within the last week. Deathbound. There's a game called Delarinia. There's a game called Aero GPX, which looks like freaking F-Zero GX. Like there are games that have been released, and I'm like, those are like games to like purchase on Steam or whatever later. And I just add them to a thing. And like I mean, I could even grab on guests and like you and I could go on like once a month and talk shit about fucking indie games coming out on a podcast.
Oh yeah,
And just like,
so much.
and then we just go, all right, this is what I have found. What have you found? And we kind of go back and forth and talk generally about, all right, here's what the Steam page says about the game. And we watch a little bit about it live or bring up a fucking picture of it and say, does this look like it's going to be a big deal? And there's so many games, so many fucking games.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
but I thought that would be a cool and interesting thing. And honestly, there's a channel that I just created for it because that book that's coming out, I want to try to create YouTube channels based on the book. So Indie Gaming Gems doesn't have a channel. So I own the channel now. So I'm going to do that for the book, but I'm like, that could be a precursor for the fucking book. And I hear all these indie game gems, and then I write about them in a little more detail in the damn book. And it's like, dude, that it's just to me that sounds cool. I know you're an indie dude, I'm an indie dude, but it's like that sounds cool. Neither of us have fucking time to do it, but it's like,
it's really
but
cool,
it's cool
because I mean, because like I said, I mean, I used to go on Twitter and I would find all these indie games that were coming out. You go on there now and they don't talk. You don't see anything about that sort of stuff. But and the stuff you do see on gaming, it's like whatever's happening in AAA controversy over a microtransaction or something. And that's what everyone's talking about. Meanwhile, there's like a spiritual successor to like Ninja Warrior called, Ninja Phantom. And you're like, what? And you're like, yeah, you play as this cyborg guy. Like, I want to know about those kind of games.
So in the last week, I found out about 2 or 3 different ones. There's a Shadow of the Ninja being remade for the NES in HD.
Yeah.
Didn't know about that. Yep. And then there's 2 freaking beat 'em ups. Like I literally showed you, like I got the horror tattoo. There is a damn Halloween beat 'em up in 16-bit coming out on Switch and Ash vs. the Evil Dead. And I'm like, how did I not know about? And it's by WayForward, who did freaking. I'm like, how did I not know about these games? I didn't see them anywhere. And I'm like, I'm in all these communities, and I'm like, and so that's the kind of stuff where I find out about the shit. I get excited because it's cool as shit, but there's nobody really getting publicized talking about it. I'm sure there are people talking.
I love listening to podcasts anyway. So I mean, that would be like, oh man, another episode's up. I gotta find out what new indie games are out.
Exactly. Exactly. So I mean, I might just start doing. I mean, because even if I do like a video style like this and put it on Indie Gaming Gems thing, I'm going to keep it on Video Game Bullshit because it's still bullshit about video games. So that way it'd be just like a different. All right, this recording, I'm going to do it on the indie games coming out, and this is what I freaking found. And this game looks badass because of XYZ. Yeah, so that's an interesting one. Man, it's getting like dark over here. It's like it's like 1 o'clock. It's clear, bright, sunny Hawaii. I almost said Hawaiian. Texas day. I'm in Texas. Oh, so I think it's time to wrap this sucker up because we're closing in on a couple hours now, man. The episode.
I feel like it. I was looking at the clock and I'm like, oh wow, yeah, we've been on for a while.
And I do intermittent fasting, so I haven't eaten since like 7 p.m. last night. So I'm like, ooh,
yeah.
I only had coffee today. I'm getting a little
same here.
Little parched and a little hungry. No, but so before we go, let people know, number one, where to find you for your channel, but also like you play shows. So like, where are you going to be playing next? And what's the name of the band? Who are your band members? Like all those pieces.
Oh yeah. Well, the band's called Rictus Grimm.
Yeah.
We have a band camp, but we don't have any of our new material up yet. We're actually in talks with a compilation, and we're going to have one of our songs debut on that compilation. I can't remember the name of it because I'm the bassist. I'm the last to know anything. But and then as the shows, I don't know when we're playing again. I think we have like maybe a show coming up in November. But my guitarist just got a camper, so he's got a camper and he's like driving places. So I don't know.
Life, man.
It's another reason.
What area do you play in? What area do you play in? Like what?
Just in Wilmington, North Carolina, just
over
here.
in NC.
We don't really, we haven't really done any out of town shows in a while. I mean, the furthest the bands went is we played Clifton, New Jersey one time. We were playing Ghouls Night Out back in like 2013. Now it's my first time in Jersey or anywhere outside of North or South Carolina. I was like, wow, this is crazy. There's liquor in the gas stations.
That is
but
a
yeah,
thing.
it was cool. Yeah, I was like, wow, that's weird because we only have like ABC stores, like stores dedicated that sell liquor. You can't go to the grocery store and buy a fifth of Jack. But yeah, so that I mean, like I want to be doing more music. You can check out my music. It's the same as my YouTube channel at Xander Skullion. I did a song, I want to say almost 2 years ago now, called Past Farewell, where I wrote the song. I did all the instruments. I produced it myself, and I hired a singer from Fiverr and gave her the lyrics. I did the melody. I didn't sing because I don't really sing, but I did the melody on the piano of like how I wanted the vocals to go. And I mean, I felt like Prince. I was like, man, I got this whole thing figured out. But that's on Spotify and Apple Music. Synthwave, very 80s if you like that, Miami Vice kind of vibe. That's what it kind of has. And but yeah, that's it. I mean, my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and the thing is, it's been great having you on, of course.
Oh yeah, man.
And just so you know, if you ever do shows seriously, you might know somebody who knows how to publish CDs and vinyl.
Oh yeah.
Like I've literally done it for video, like 20, 30 video games now. So I know how to publish legit. So, but either way,
I would say I got a look at this.
Nice.
Speaking of publishing albums, I did the voice of the virus on this album, and this is from our good friend Heatman, amazing drummer.
Yeah,
I have one of those little cigar boxes where he did a Dragon Quest 9. He did that, and it's like in my bedroom. It's so good, so cool.
Dude, and that album is so cool because it's like themed about like it's almost like Final Fantasy VII style with vocals, and I mean, I also had a voice in it. I'm in the train. I'm on the train.
They're working on a follow up to that album too.
Nice.
So
yeah,
I'm really excited about that.
I mean, and the history piece, like me knowing lots of people, he did a one of a kind black box challenge box for me back in my first project that I ever did. And it was he ended up doing two. He did a small one and he did this giant one that fit both the book and the game. The giant one went to backer, the one backer that got it. I only offered one, and then I got the demo, tiny, small, like almost cigar box one, that I still have.
Yeah.
But like, he's so freaking talented doing all the wood burning and stuff.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But yeah, I've known him for that's a long time now, man. I'm old.
Yeah, I found out about him probably the same way you did when he did that Ease box for Johnny Millennium, the heavy console gamer. He did that, and Johnny did a video on it. And I didn't know who he was for the longest time, and I was like on Facebook just talking, and I'm like, "Hey, you did that." I'm like, "Oh my god!" And yeah, like it's been like that ever since.
And he's in a band.
yeah. Me and him always have a pipe dream of doing music together. Me and him's talked about that so many times. Like yeah, we could do that. We could do it now. With the internet. I mean, you produce your own stuff. To send me the drums, send them over here. I'll play bass. I'll get it all panned out. Be good.
I mean, I'll be doing vocals eventually, man. While I'm out here, I'm actually working on my vocal depth and getting lessons. So I can, because it's going to be, like I'm not singing high pitched shit. I'm going to be more grovelly, like my normal voice.
It's just good to know. It's just like your vocals are. It's like any other muscle. Like it's good to know the proper way of doing it. That way you could do it for a long time. Because there's a lot of problems. Is like a lot of people, they go in bands and they try to screech like Robert Plant. They blow their pipes out, or they pick up smoking or something like that, and they don't know how to do it because they were never trained of how to do it. So
exactly,
yeah, it's good to know how. So that way, if you want to get loud, you know how to do it with your throat without sounding, hoarse for the next 3 days.
Well, and even what you just said there, you use your diaphragm, not your throat. So, stuff that I learned back in my old drill sergeant days, where I needed to project and yell, I use the diaphragm, not the throat. Yeah. So
I was about to say you got that covered. Then I forgot. That's right.
Yeah, I got a little bit of experience, but also like, you know, it'll be interesting. We all want to do projects together and do all the things, but we just got to find the time and the venue.
The
time. And none of us have it. It's been fun though.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Appreciate you for coming on. This will, I'll stop the recording here in a minute, but definitely check out Xander over on the YouTube's at Xander Skullion, and then look in there and find his bass covers that he's going to start doing soon. It sounds freaking dope as hell, bro.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate you coming on, man.
Thanks, man.